Nice to meet you all. I'm Kihoon Choi from South Korea, and reporter and social part news editor of KCIJ, Korean Center for Investigative Journalism. And KCIJ is the first and only non-profit organization for investigative journalism in Korea, and also the ICIJ's partner for offshore leaks project. And today I will tell you about my reporting on manipulation of internet public opinion by South Korea's spy agency before last year presidential election in Korea. Okay, this is the outline. Where's the point? Sorry. Anyone?
Yeah, give it to Oleg. Okay. Yeah. We may have a problem with it being a drive. Let's stick with the way we have it, Oleg. Just click ahead if you can, okay?
Okay, next one.
Okay.
Okay. There's an allegation online smear campaign by the National Intelligence Service called NIS in Korea to influence the 2012 presidential election. And we have found some over 600 Twitter accounts used by spy agents, and complete the map of a network of 10 groups in the cyberspace. And finally, we confirm the major Twitter account holder is a real spy agent. Next. Our reporting used as strong evidence by prosecutors prompting indictment of former NIS chief. Next, please. Online smear campaign conducted on online forum website Today Humor is a Korean community site by an NIS official surnamed Miss Kim, uncovered last year. It's on 11th 12th, before the 8 days ago of election day. Next. About that affair, NIS explained that that was the normal anti-North Korean psychological campaign. So about that, we think, how can they did it only one website and only one agent? I thought only. So that became the strong clue to find out the truth. Next. Yeah, we got a reasonable doubt about that. Next. So we Googled some 100 postings on the website, Today Humor, and found online postings with the same contents on Twitter during the same period, during the campaigning presidential election. Next. On the right side, written in Korean, is the postings between the Today Humor and the Twitter. You can see the same phrase. Of course, you do not know Korean. It's the same. So we traced the Twitter accounts that retweeted the online postings and found at the first beginning of the stage, we found 65 Twitter accounts, and the contents of that tweet is criticizing North Korea, promoting government policies, denouncing opposition parties. That Twitter postings coincide with online postings on Today Humor. It's the same content. Next. This is oh no. Just that one.
Mm-hmm.
It has a movie clip, but we cannot play it in the Google Drive.
Right, no.
Okay. This is the election day, presidential election day. Their posting activity started here. All the Twitter accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All the Twitter accounts activities start at this time, at the same time, the day of the official agency official closed by police, and so we confirm the core Twitter accounts that many product conducts without retrieving. There are about two. The Twitter accounts named Noodle and Tasan4. We reported that thing on the first time on 5th March of this year. And next. And about 3 days later, Operation Lawmaker revealed orders made by former NIS chief to meddle in politics. And we confirmed also the Twitter online postings made by suspected Twitter accounts in line with the orders. And finally, we traced, and finally we confirmed over 600 such Twitter accounts. Next. And we retrieved the postings made by deleted Twitter accounts and collected tweets from web cache log website with crawl programming, and collected 280,000 postings from some 440 Twitter accounts. And next, this is the network of map that are those of Twitter accounts. It was made of 10 groups, and you can see the core for Twitter accounts, this big one. Next. And it was a base of groups, messenger, producer, core account, and messenger, Twitter bots. That's the composition of the Twitter group. And next. Okay, we did a keyword analysis by 50 meaningful keywords like candidates, North Korea, election, etc. And finally found that 15% of Twitter posting confirmed to be related to the presidential election. Next. You can see that the number of tweets grew significantly as the presidential election year. Until this, we did a great job and have many reportings on the website, but it is not finished. We didn't confirm those Twitter accounts holders as NIS agent. Next. We need to obtain information about the identities of Twitter account holders from, yeah, it's natural. But we couldn't, because we are not police. Next. Well, how can I know their identity? After having a hard time, we got idea and paid attention to the simple thing that you should have email address when you registering Twitter accounts, right? And there's a possibility of using email accounts from local domestic portal site. So we entered over 600 IDs into the account registration form of the major portal site, and found some same IDs existing in the portal site, about 160. If because you can use the IDs, those are already owned by the others. So we suspect that IDs is maybe Korean intelligence services agent. Next. And we search that email address that have the same IDs. So people search websites in Korea, then confirm real names of account holders with unique IDs. It's like, Noodle, Tasan4, and that website major account Noodle included. And finally, we can confirm the identity of a 30-year-old man, surnamed Lee, and we checked, but his Twitter account profile bio introduced him as a Korean air captain, but we checked that to the Korean airline, they say there's no man like Mr. Lee. So we can confirm that man is probably be a intelligence agent. Next, please. Yes. And we checked through multiple sources, but I can tell you about that. That's a secret. And confirm that he is a member of a warfare psychological team of the NIS. So we reported that the major Twitter account belongs to the NIS official on May 7th this year. Next. Operation Party reportedly to the prosecutor's officers on the charge of violating several laws. And next. And prosecutors started approving social network sites and such big data companies in Korea and request the United States for judicial cooperation to know the Twitter accounts, email address, and about like that. And also indicted former NIS chief Kihoon for violating election laws on June 17th, and seekers 420 tweets suspected of meddling in the political election, and tracing the Twitter accounts 400. That was the same Twitter accounts that we reported. 70% of such accounts coincide with our reporting. And prosecutors has confirmed the creation of a separate day. The NIS created a separate SNS team in February last year. Okay, next. Our investigative reporting revealed the secret and organized online smear campaigns by the NIS to meddle in the president's election. And the background picture is the people, demonstrating people, about 50,000 people in the city, Seoul City Hall Plaza. And maybe I think this is the first reporting based on the SNS data collection and analysis. Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you. So we have a couple minutes for any significant question, and then we'll move to the next one. Does anyone have any particular question on this? Yes. What social network analysis software did you use?
Software. We used the software. We're collecting the SNS data by crawler program, and we collected the data, and it's calculated with the Excel program.
So it was with the Excel program?
Just the Microsoft Excel program.
Right. And then for the analysis, did you use Node Excel? Is that what you used?
Yeah.
For the Node Excel with that plugin. Okay. All right, so let's go.
Me?
Yes, yeah, we'll keep going. Oh, we have one more? One more question. Anton and Dimitri, go ahead, get set up. What's that?
Could you tell us just a little bit more about the content of the SMSs and how they interfered with the election?
What did they say on their right? What did they say on their tweets? What was the content?
It's like this. The opposition party candidate's name is Moon. Like this, Moon, you can become president of our country. And the ruling party's candidate's name is Park. Park should have to be a president of our country, like this.
So it's promoting the political campaign and attacking the opposition.
Exactly, campaigning.
Mm-hmm.
Park won. Yeah, Park won. Ruling party won. And there's no people responsible for that illegal campaigning right now. So the trial is ongoing in Korea now.
Got it. Trial's ongoing. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move. Are you ready? Okay. So is there any other question while they get set up? We'll just wait for a moment here. Yeah. Not rush too much. It's been a long conference, so we'll be very informal and relaxed. So you did use Node with Excel for the social network analysis? Yeah. Okay.
And we had a great research team.
Right. Okay. How many people have looked at Node XL? That's a plug-in to Excel to do social network analysis. Has anyone used it? One person. You should look at this. It is a fairly simple plug-in. It's free. It allows you to look at the connections among people. And there's been a class in it here, but there are tutorials at the ire.org site on Node XL. So if you're interested in learning how to use the tool, it's not that difficult, and there are tutorials that you can get to use it. And once again, it's free. You download it, and it connects into Excel. And it's wonderful for tracking powerful people and connections between people and so forth, as you saw. Okay. We ready? Yeah. Yep, okay. Go ahead and introduce yourself to me.
Is it working? Yeah?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dmitry Gnap. I'm journalist investigator from Kiev, Ukraine. I'm reporter in Следство Info. This is an independent Ukrainian agency of investigative journalism. And, excuse me? Yes. Now we're going back. No, Kyoto money. Yes, me and my colleague Maria Usenko last year did investigation. President's friends robbed children. President's friends, women. Maria now in Kiev. I hope is watching by us via online stream translation. This is investigation named President's Friends Rob Children, Presidents, Women, President of Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych. So next slide. Here's the screenshot of our investigation. It had been published on top Ukrainian online media, Ukrainska Pravda, Ukrainian Truth, and as you can see, it had good sharing in social media, near 1,300 likes. So you can ask me what this story about. Next, please, Mr. Assistant. Next slide. Oh, oops. Some technical problems, you know. Not found. problems with internet, maybe.
Yeah. Go back.
Maybe we should refresh.
Yeah. I think you've got to sign back in.
Yes. Sign back?
Mm-hmm. It says reload there.
Okay, we'll try.
We may have lost the internet. Oh, we're back. There's Dimitra. Okay. Then. No. Go back. Go to.
So everybody can see my password of email. This is a thin black dots. 7 black dots. So try to do it again. Yes.
Excellent.
What this story about? It's all started last year. In spring, last year spring, Japanese government transferred to Ukrainian government $200 million for in Kyoto Protocol program. You know, Japan government gave the money for Ukrainian government with concrete direction. We buy from Ukraine quotas for greenhouse pollutions and give you money, $200 million, but with concrete tough conclusion. You must spend this money for insulation program for declining of greenhouse pollutions in Ukraine. Next slide, please. Yes. Ukrainian government took this money, said thank you very much for Japan, and last summer Ukrainian government organized state procurements for spending of this money. On this state procurement won 3 dummy proxy companies: Antistrade Ltd, Sodetel Ltd, and Don't Panic. This is a common way of naming of Ukrainian companies. Choi Invest 2007 Ltd. These 3 companies, without offices, without working telephones, without directors, websites, experience in such projects, took this money. Next slide, please. So, we as investigator was very interested to find out who control these dummy proxy companies. And, you know, in fact, this was just one main goal of our investigation. We just wanted to find out who control these proxy companies. And because these companies have no contacts, we try to contact with managers of these companies through the 200 different objects in Ukraine that must be insulated by this Kyoto Protocol program. What is the objects? This is a hospitals, orphanages, kindergartens, and schools of Ukraine. All there are 250 objects by all Ukraine. And this is, we did infographics of separating of this Kyoto Protocol money by Ukraine, and you can see the eastern region of Ukraine took the most of money because here in Donetsk, this is a neighborhood of, this is a fatherland of President Yanukovych. Crimea, this is a strange situation because Crimea is located on the south of Ukraine, and here warm winters and no need to get so much money as, for example, on the north of the Ukraine, Chernihiv region that took no money at all. So, and you can realize our marveling when we start to call on these schools, orphanages. We start to contact with these hospitals and find out that no work provided. For example, this is Berdichev town. This is Berdichev town city, Berdichev city hospital. Berdichev is a small city in Zhytomyr region. By this project of insulation that these proxy companies sign it out, and they promised to do, by project on this hospital must be installed good new warming panels, and you can see this program must be finished in 30 of October of that year, and I made this photo in November, in a month after finishing of this program, so you can see the level of insulation by these proxy companies. Next photo, please. Okay. Look in this hospital, these proxy companies must install metal and plastic window frames. But after the finishing of this installation program, this is, you can see here is old frames, window frames, 50 or 60 years old. Here's the staff of hospital show me the quality, show me these old window frames. They must put on gypsum for avoiding of cold winter. And this is a most reasonable object. This is a Donetsk city orphanage. By the project, these proxy companies must to install warming panels, and so you can see these panels on the moment of the finishing of this program. And in project was signing expenses of was written expenses of changing the window frames from old wood to new metal plastic. But as staff of this orphanage, director of this orphanage, said to us, I'm so marveled because I don't know where this money go, because these frames changed in our orphanage 5 years ago, you know. So another photo. This is insulating. This is quality of changing of window frames in Lviv school, one of Lviv city school. You can see this this foam for putting the holes in the windows. And conclusion of our investigation, we found out, we exposed the scheme of people who control these proxy companies. This is all President Yanukovych friends. Here's this money. It's 1.7 billion of Ukrainian hryvnias. It's $200 million. this is three proxy companies. One controlled by Viktor Mekhdisov. He is a partner and old friend of Alexander Yanukovych, elder son of President Yanukovych. And two companies controlled by, don't panic, a little sophisticated scheme, controlled by Mikhailo Yezhev and Andrea Stapka, partners of Yuri Ivanющenko and Mykola Prisezhnyuk. Yuri Ivanющenko, he is member of Parliament of Ukraine, of ruling party of regions, and he is old friend and partner of Mykola Prisezhnyuk. He is a minister, agriculture minister in Ukrainian government, and both of old friends of President Yanukovych from Yenakievo city, that's nearby Donetsk. And excuse me, you know, this is scheme had very big sharing in social networks, and I remember the best comment for this scheme from some girl. She wrote, "Oh my God, from what circle this fraud scheme begins?" And somebody answered to her, "You know, the problem of this fraud, that this scheme begins from every circle." So, yes, you can excuse me. Yes, just one second. You can ask me what's the result of this investigation. In several months, this man who was the director of state agency of ecological investments, who divided this money through these three companies, he was fired, and members of Parliament of Ukraine launched creating of investigation parliament committee. But Ukraine, it's a Ukraine. Ukraine, it's not a Canada or even Estonia. You know, after firing, Vladislav Yakubovsky get the position of counselor of this minister, of his boss, Eduard Stavitsky. And Ukrainian members of parliament firstly launched creating of this investigation committee, and you know, Ukrainian opposition have criticized Ukrainian government so tough, but when come dark, when come evening, in Kiev restaurants, opposition politicians and government politicians meet together and doing business. So the last one, sad moment. The last slide, please. Yes. One sad moment. We send via email brief describing of this situation. We send our investigation and translate it into English infographics to United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This is the Kyoto Protocol office. And to this top Japan media. So how do you suppose, how many answers did we receive? Zero. Correct. Zero. And this is very sad because in several months on the Ukrainian government official website appeared this statement that Ukraine, I try to translate very quickly, Ukraine and Japan interested to continue cooperation of expanding this Kyoto Protocol money. Sure, we didn't expand that Japan ambassador will make a seppuku, you know, but we expand that Japan government and Japan ambassador and Japan media even be interested. So if you know somebody from Japanese media, call them. They have ability to earn good fee for exposing of this problem. Thank you very much.
Sibylla and Martin. Okay. Did you have a presentation?
I don't. If I could just get pull up a website.
Okay.
Can you do that?
We'll see. Oleg is being the master today. We're going to pull up a website. While you're doing that, do we have a question for Dimitro? Was there any
yes,
questions?
maybe do you have questions?
Yeah, we have a moment as we fiddle with things. Yes.
Yes.
Show the story, so it's easier than to do the story.
Conversation before, so that we could help and still.
In microphone.
Yeah.
Are you from Japan?
Yeah, Japanese Public Broadcasting.
Nice to meet you.
Now it's the beginning.
We arranged the conference for this.
Did you receive my email?
I haven't received it, so we didn't. Wasn't that my company was on it. So now the question. So there are many things that the problem with Japanese government, like to give out the money, and I suspect that they know all these things happening, but they just don't care about it. But if we could probably make something, we could do more investigative. So maybe we could talk later. But
sure, we have a
do
lot.
you have the kind of impression, or the kind of assuming that there's something going on there between Japanese government and all these groups?
Yeah.
Good. We have a lot of data and documents and proofs of this fraud, and many of them we translated to English and sent to Japanese media and gave it to Embassy of Japan. And so yeah. Do you mean the connection between Japanese officials? Yes. We have no proofs of this for today, sure. And it will be very interesting to expose it if we just have no time to expose in connection between Japanese officials and Ukrainian officials and some corruption deals in this. We are small independent agency. We have not so much resources, and so we expected help of Japanese media, and there's good ability to start cooperation with us.
So after this, you'll get together and we'll see something in Japan. Great. All right, you ready? Go ahead and introduce yourself and a little overview of the story.
Yep.
And then we go. Okay.
Hi, my name is Sibylla Brodzinsky. I am a freelance journalist. I'm based in Bogota, and I wear a lot of different hats. And last year, I was wearing the hat of project coordinator for this investigation project for Insight Crime. Insight Crime is a relatively new website that dedicates itself to investigating organized crime in the Americas. It's bilingual. It's in English. It was initially in English, and I helped them set up the Spanish language website last year as well. And we launched it with this project, which was the Mafia Shadow in the Americas. And this project is very ambitious. We looked for partners in Latin America. Oh, sorry. Okay. We looked for digital media partners in Latin America to work on stories and investigations to look at how organized crime affects human rights. And it's the subject that the two subjects don't often go together when we think about organized crime. So we got together with Plaza Pública, and Martin is here, in Guatemala, Animal Político in Mexico, Verdad Abierta in Colombia, and El Faro in El Salvador. We got together, we sat down to try to decide what aspects of this we were going to look at, and we chose to look at how organized crime was displacing people in these different countries, and also how it was enslaving people in the idea of modern slavery. And what we came up with was 8 stories. So each outlet took that broad subject and developed it for their own country and their own readership. So what we initially launched this with the refugee stories. And so what we had was, for example, the Plaza Pública story was desplazar para no desplazar. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'll back up. We did this bilingually. So the stories were actually reported and written originally in Spanish by each of these outlets, and then as insight we translated it and put it on our site. If you can, well, maybe that's okay. Oh, that's all right. We don't need to see it. So, for example, in El Salvador, El Faro found that the maras, the street gangs, very powerful street gangs, were displacing people. There was an urban displacement phenomenon where entire neighborhoods were abandoned because people were fleeing from extortion. They were fleeing from all sorts of violence that the maras were creating. In Guatemala, and Martin will go into this a little bit more in more detail. They looked at how indigenous people were being displaced and really sort of surrounded by all sorts of different interests, of drug trafficking, of palm oil companies, sort of crowding them out of these areas. And and you can take a look at this. The other thing we looked at was slavery in a very broad sense. In Colombia, for example, Verdad Abierta looked at how children were being forcibly recruited into criminal gangs from schools. In El Salvador, again, they tracked a specific case of a woman who had been forced into sexually trafficked and forced into prostitution. So there were a lot of different visions of these general themes from each of these countries. And I think I'll turn it over to Martin to go a little more specific. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Martin Rodriguez. I am editor-in-chief of Plaza Pública, one of the 4 media that were coordinated by Inside Crime and did these stories. It was very... Thank you. So again, I'm Martin Rodriguez. I'm editor-in-chief of Plaza Pública. We're an online media that started 3 years ago and is funded by Jesuit University and 2 foundations. And the 4 media accepted Inside Crime's call for these investigations because we always wanted to do transnational investigations. And the way we did it wasn't that complicated. We got together in Bogota, the editors-in-chiefs, to plan which issues we were going to cover. And after you can figure out 4 editor-in-chiefs and 2 editors trying to decide which features, which investigations we were going to do. After we passed that, one of the most interesting things was that, for instance, we in Plaza Pública edited the El Faro from El Salvador El Faro edited Verdad Abierta from Colombia, and Verdad Abierta was edited by the Mexican Animal Político. So this was a very interesting experience, and I'm going to tell you very quickly about the two features that we did in Plaza Pública. One was that we heard that the peasants and the businessmen from palm oil were being displaced by the mafias in the northern part of the country. So we arranged some contacts, and Osvaldo Hernandez went there, one of our reporters with one of our photographers, Rodrigo Baires, and we found out that it was not only like that. Mafias did displace peasants, but with the help of the army, and because it's so powerful, the palm oil industry, indeed the palm oil industry did the mafias go a little bit back and further, and we could prove not only that peasants were the real losers in all this battlefield, but that the palm oil industry even rented lands to drug kingpins. And in Guatemala, as in many other Latin American countries, the big companies say, oh, we don't have nothing to do with organized crime, we hate them, we really can't stand them. And at the end, many times they end up having deals with them. So we could prove that. And palm oil producers, as you might imagine, in Central America, we produce like 5 to 10% of all the world production, and only an elite is the one that produces it. And then the other investigation we did was about mafia slavery, sexual slavery mafia networks in Guatemala. So we started looking for information, and then we went to the two borders in the west and in the east, and started trying to find out how it works and how do people suffer it. And then we went to the prison to speak with Zetas, to the women's prison to speak with Zetas, who told us how this structure works. And then we thought that something was missing, so we went to one of the bars in the city that is in a more or less poor neighborhood, and we wanted to see how and to prove how, even though it looks like a bar, or even though they look like nightclubs, in fact they are mafia places where they traffic women. So Alejandra Gutierrez and Sandra Sebastian went to the bar to have some drinks, and they said they were from a university, which was the truth, but we didn't say that the newspaper was part of the university, so that they could be in touch with the waiters that in reality were women that were in slavery. So like that, having drinks and then chatting with this waiters, they got to a little bit more close to see how these networks work. Even then with the matrona, I don't know how to translate it into English, with the
the madam.
Yeah, the madam. The interview was in the bathroom while the reporter and she were in the bathroom, and they both were having drinks, and so she could get information from how the net worked. So it was a very interesting investigation, the 8 features, and we're very proud that we were finalists in the Daniel Pearl for this investigation. So thank you very much.
Do we have 1 or 2 questions for this? Anyone? Okay, we'll keep rolling then. Yeah, go ahead and start preparing. Any questions on this one? Okay, fantastic. Do we have one? Yes. It's coming.
Thank you. I have a question for him and for all the panelists regarding to, you are dealing with dangerous situations actually, and dangerous guys. I mean, the interest of the government here, interest of organized crimes. My question is, those guys won't be silent. They will take an action against you or against the. So my question is, do they or did they take any action against you, threatened you, whatever? And the other
Some
part of
pressure of us.
the question is, how you dealt with the situation? Do you have protection? What did you do? Thank you.
So maybe it's for everyone?
Yeah. I'd like everybody to just
Briefly.
glimpse about what they did with this situation. Thank you.
Do you have threats?
There are some methods of protecting of yourself in making some resonate investigations. First, it's working on network. Our agency of investigation, this is our agency is a member of OCCRP, International Investigative Network, and this is a first method. Second method, you must work transparently, and you must have tough, concrete, and strong proofs of your work. But always, you have a little danger. You cannot avoid, because this is just methods of declining of danger of some threats, not of deleting at all, So work network and work tough.
Martin?
Well, we didn't receive any threats for this work, and for instance, in the sexual slavery part, we did not publish names. For instance, we didn't publish the name of the public officer that was related to the bar where we went, in order to protect ourselves, because it was pretty dangerous. And we have published names of drug dealers or kingpins. Many, almost all of them have been denounced by the Attorney General's office or the Security Ministry or the DEA from the United States. And besides the thing he was saying about transparency, there's another thing that we journalists many times forget, that is to treat people with dignity, even though they are accused of genocide or if they are kingpins. So, for instance, one time we did an investigation on a banana company hiring kingpins to kill union members. It was I don't know which one of the three big companies in the world, but one of the three. And so what we did was to call this kingpin that was pretty public, and we got the number from one member of the Congress, and we called him saying, "Oh, we're sorry, we have this investigation against you, and there's going to be a trial against you. So in order you not to be not defended in this feature, we would like to have your opinion." He was like, "Oh, thank you for calling. My opinion is this. Yeah, the union members were bothering too much, so we were taking actions." So that helped us, so that he the next day wouldn't see a web page mentioning his name, accusing him of this. So it works in cases where there are like famous kingpins. I don't think it works with new kingpins that don't want to be public and so on.
Okay.
Sure.
Very quickly.
Yeah. In my case, the National Intelligence Service do not give a threat, physical threat to me, but their attitude to our reporting is just ignoring the truth. That's because if they have action, the problem will be makes bigger. So I think always when I make a phone call or meet somebody, maybe there is a spy agency, I watch back, and so there is no physical threat. But I always thinking they are watching me, my action, and what I am doing and who I meeting. I think so.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go ahead and start the next one.
My name is Dawood Kutab. I'm the chairman of the board of Arij, Arab Reporters for Investigative Journalists. My day job is running a media organization in Amman, Jordan, Radio Al-Balad and Amman Net. Mus'ab Shawabka is the head of that unit. He doesn't speak English, so I will basically tell you the story, and if you have questions, I'll try to translate for him. This is an investigation that Mus'ab worked on the high school matriculation exam we call Tawjihi, and it's a national government-sponsored examination, and the results of it is so important because it determines what if you go to university and what courses you can take and so on. And so the idea came when Mus'ab happened to be at one of the schools, and he heard the principal say to students who are very worried. Students are so worried sometimes that they, afterwards, it's like a big emergency for the family to do this exam, that he was telling them, don't worry, everybody can pass because they can use cell phones. So we didn't realize that cell phones were being used to cheat. So what did we try to reveal? That there is organized cells working in concert with some Ministry of Education officials who smuggle test questions and sell the answers. And we found that there is a clear case of supervisors turning a blind eye to massive scale cheating, and that students use cell phones to get the answers to questions for pay. In addition to the actual investigation we did, we're using undercover. We also must have distributed 400 questionnaires to 400 students, and the results came out 56% say that students are believe that that students do cheat, and 46% said they themselves cheated, and 72% said that supervisors turn a blind eye, and 51% said that hall directors also pay no attention to cheating. So how did we do? What's the methodology? There was a live testimony, accomplished one. The writer, who was, as you see, looked very young. He signed up as a student, and he tried to take the examination himself, and he tried to pay people to actually get him the results by phone. The way they do it is they smuggle out the questions very quickly, answer them, and then send them back by cell phone. So the investigation was documented by hidden camera, and then you saw about the survey. Next. So what were the problems? After some time he was discovered, and then also his camera, he used the pencil camera, was discovered by one of the students. Initially the Ministry of Education refused to give any information or even talk to us, and the Minister of Education threatened the author the day before not to publish, and made a big case. Okay. So what happened afterwards? After we published the investigation, the Ministry of Education set up a committee to really investigate what happened. They created new guidelines to deal much harsher with people who violate the cheating laws. And the Prime Minister, the next round, he publicly apologized to all the students who were hurt in previous examinations because of cheating in previous exams that resulted in unjust decisions. We'll show you a short video that was taken by the hidden camera, and this is he's sitting next to this guy. In a minute, you will see the guy take out a camera. Watch this guy. He puts his hand inside, takes out his cell phone. We also have other video of some of the supervisors coming, and basically they made an agreement with them not to reveal them. Okay, so not to take more time. I mean, basically, you get the end.
I want to thank everyone. Thanks for coming in this morning. Fantastic work.